All right, so I have started the recording now, and I hope all of you are able to see my screen also. If you can write +1 in the chat box, that will give me an idea that you are able to see my computer screen. Just a +1. Okay. All right, great. Thank you. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to talk about some of the new features which we have bring inside Adobe After Effects. Okay, so the first feature which we have bring is something called Properties panel. Now, what is Properties panel? I'm using After Effects latest version. If by any chance, if you are not able to see the feature which I'm showing you here, then please update your Adobe After Effects. I'm using the latest version of Adobe After Effects. So please download and update your After Effects to the latest version so that you are able to see the features which I'm going to show you. Now, what is Properties panel? So let's say I'm working in inside After Effects and I'm going to create a new solid layer. Okay, and let me select some color here. And the moment I create a solid layer, you can see on the right hand side something called properties. Okay, and below that it's mentioned layer transform. Okay, and all the properties related to the layer is visible here, like anchor point, position, scale, rotation. Now imagine if you are working on a complex project and you have 30 layer and 40 layer, you need to go in every layer by clicking this arrow, then clicking again an arrow button, and then you reach on this entire panel. So we thought that why not we bring this property out of the layer, so that because you need to update this a lot, right? So what we have done, we bring this property outside. Now you just need to select the layer. And if I want to scale down this, I will simply from the right hand side, from this property panel, I can scale it down my layer. I can also rotate this. Not only that, I can also create an animation also. So maybe I will put this here and I will turn on the position keyframe. I will move my header and then I will move my object. So you can see that without going inside the layer, I was able to use the property panel. And this property panel is a dynamic, which means depending upon the type of layer you have selected, it will change the information. For example, you know that shape layer provide you a lot of settings, right? Suppose I create a shape here, like a rectangle, right? Now, if I go inside here, I will click on content and I will click on rectangle, then you will see stroke, fill, all these options, then I will go in fill. It will take a lot of time, right? I'm sure all of you can imagine that how much time it takes when you have lot of layer and you keep on scrolling up and down because our computer screen slightly small, so we need to scroll up and down to find out the correct layer, right? So we have done again, just simply select your shape layer and all the shape related properties are visible in the properties panel. You can select the layer from here, you can change the color from here, you can change the fill color from here without going inside the layer. So suppose I'm working on this rectangle, I want to change the color. I can simply change the color from here. I can also increase the thickness like this. And also maybe if I want to rotate this object, I can do that also. Something like this. Not only that, if I create some different shape, let's say I create a star, you can see now the poly star is also visible here. So I can select poly star, I can reduce the stroke width, I can change the color and maybe a different color. So you can imagine how easy it is, how much time it will save for you without going inside each and every layer, and you can make changes in your in your layer. So be it a solid layer, be it a shape layer, whatever layer you have, you will able to see this property panel on the right side with all the detail. And do not forget, you can also animate them because the animation stopwatch is also available here. Okay, so sorry, suppose if I want to animate the stroke width, I can simply turn on here. I will move my header and then I will increase the value. So you can see immediately I was able to create the animation. It will save a lot of your time when you are working on a complex project, which when you have lot of layer. If you have only 2 layer, 3 layer, or 4 layer, then maybe this feature may not look very significant because you only have 2 3 layers to work upon. But when you have more than 10 layers, 15, 20 layers, a very complex project, then this will save lot of your time in going in on those layers. All right, so this was the first feature, properties panel. If the panel is not visible, you can click on window, and here you can see the this option, properties. Okay, if this option is not visible in your Windows panel, Windows menu, then then you need to check that is your After Effects is updated or not, because in the latest version you will able to see this properties option, and you can turn on this particular panel. Okay, now let's move on to the next feature. Let me open the file. This one is something related with 3D layers inside Adobe After Effects. So I'm just opening a file here. Just give me a second. Okay, so here you can see I have lot of layers here. Most of them are illustrated layer. You all know that people who use After Effects, you know that you can very easily bring Illustrator files inside Adobe After Effects to animate them. And all these layers are 3D layer. You can see all of them are converted into a 3D layer. And I can move this entire scene. If I show you, you can see it's a full 2.5D kind of a thing which I have created here. Now, when we work with a 3D layer, one of the challenge we face is whatever layer is outside the composition area, we are not able to see that, right? We are only able to see the bounding box. As you can see here on my screen, all these rectangles which is visible outside the composition area are visible as a rectangle. Now, I'm not sure what is that object. For example, if I select this, I I didn't know what is this particular object until unless I bring this particular object inside my scene. And this is actually a ice cream layer. Okay, so this become difficult sometime when we are creating animation, and you know animation is all about timing, right? So I'm not sure where my object is going, till where I need to bring the object. So what we have done, we have now bring a option which is called extended viewer. Okay, and to turn on this option, you need to first of all click on this button which is called draft 3D. Okay, simply click on draft 3D, and now you need to click on this tiny button if it is not visible, if it is not clicked. This is called extended viewer. If I hover this, it's called extended viewer. If I turn on this, now you can see all the layers which are even outside the composition area are visible, and this will give me a great flexibility when I'm creating an animation, and if I want to see the animation timing of my object. So even doesn't matter if your object is inside the composition or outside the composition, I can see that. If I turn off this, then I will not be able to see this object when it is going outside my composition area. Okay, so but with this option, I can see this particular thing even if it is outside the composition area. Not only that, many people ask us to bring the grid option also, so that you get a sense of, okay, this is the flooring or this is the grid. So now we have a grid option. Just like any 3D software, we have a grid option inside After Effects also. You can turn off the grid or you can turn on the grid depending upon your requirements. So these two options are now available inside the Adobe After Effects, where you can extend your viewer and also turn on and turn off the grid. Now, you may not require to turn on the extended viewer all the time when you are working. You only need to turn on when you are working on a complex project and you want to see the timing of the animation. So because it will consume certain amount of your performance, so turn on when you require to use, or otherwise you can turn it off. Does it work on the 2D layer? So yeah, if the layer is 2D, as you can see, my last layer, which is actually a background, is actually a 2D layer. You can see, okay, there is no 3D cube, okay. So it is working on that also. See, so even if you are working on a 2D project, I can understand that not every time we are working with a 3D layer. Okay. So even if your layers are 2D, this feature will work even on 2D layer. If I turn off, you can only able to see the bounding box, the selection of the layer. If I turn on this, you can actually able to see the entire layer. I hope this answered your question. Okay, let's move on to the next feature now. And the next feature is something very big. So far, what I showed you are something related with increasing your efficiency while working onto the Adobe After Effects. The next two feature which I'm going to show you are actually very time saving. So let me open my file and let me. Okay, how many of you have done rotoscopy in After Effects? Rotoscopy is a very crucial part when we want to extract any object from the video. If you write +1, it will give me an idea that how many of you have tried rotoscopy inside After Effects. Did anyone have done rotoscopy? Okay. Okay, great. Good to know that you done a rotoscopy. So you know that rotoscopy is one of the very challenging tasks which actually take a lot of time to extract any object from the video. Now, what we have done, you must have seen this tool which is called Roto Brush, right? This is a Roto Brush tool. It's not a new tool, it's a very old tool. But what we have done now, if you roto any object, let's say I want to extract this particular the character from the clip, okay, this particular boy, I will make a selection something like this, okay, on this particular character, like this. And now what you will see, let me extract this part also. We have now added a new version. You can see more efficient version of rotoscopy, and it is called version 3.0. Okay, the older version was 2.0, and the first release was the classic release. But now we have enhanced our rotoscopy with version 3.0. So as you can see, I have this particular character where this child is running and both the hand is on the left and the right hand side. I just made a selection. So on one frame, from whichever frame you are starting your rotoscopy, on from that particular frame, you have to do the entire selection of your object in a best possible way. And then when you go on to the other frames, so as you can see, when I'm moving my frame, I'm going forward on my frame. As you can see here, this green selection means that the frame is getting calculated. Now you can see this hand is getting overlapped. Okay. And automatically the AI is able to recognize that, okay, the hand got overlapped. Now in between negative part need to be removed. So again, if I move forward, you can see both the legs are overlapped. There is no gap in between. But the moment the gap will come, just like the gap between hand and the body, the selection will automatically come. I'll just show you that on one frame. You can see the selection is a start coming automatically. So the AI is able to recognize that what part you have selected, and even if that part get overlapped and get visible later on, the AI will memorize your selection and it will accurately make the selection of your object. So you can see that this particular, you just move it. So again, you can see this particular selection automatically came. This selection is automatically came. I didn't make this selection, but you can see this negative area is got selected automatically. So that's how we have improved our rotoscopy. If you haven't tried it yet, I would suggest give it a try on a complex footage also. and it will work perfectly fine. You can see this area, this negative space is automatically got selected. So if I show you the final frame, you can see. So it's much more refined, much more faster, and much more accurate when you are doing rotoscopy with the version 3.0. So just make sure that when you are doing a rotoscopy, the version should be selected on 3.0. This is the latest version. If 3.0 is not visible, then do update your Adobe After Effects so that you will able to see the version 3.0. Okay, so now let's move on to the last but not the least feature, and that's a very you can say ask feature from everyone, and many of you might have also requested a similar feature. And this feature right now is available in the After Effects beta, but very soon this feature will be visible in your regular version of Photoshop, regular version of After Effects. So to try this feature right now, you need to install the After Effects beta version. How to install a beta version? I'll just quickly show you. So this is your Creative Cloud desktop application. If you come here, you will find something called beta apps. Click on beta apps, okay, and you will find After Effects beta. And you need to install this version to try the next feature which I'm going to show you. Okay. Do not use After Effects beta version for your production file, for your regular file which on the your project file on which you are working. For that, you use your regular After Effect only, which is this one. Okay, but to try the next feature, you can use the beta version. Okay, the new version of After Effects is the version 2024. Okay, this one is the version 2024. However, the feature which I'm going to show you is available inside the After Effects beta version. Okay, so once you install the beta version of Adobe After Effects, the feature which I'm going to talk about is native 3D import. Now you can import 3D model inside Adobe After Effects without any third-party plugin. And this is one of the biggest ask from every After Effects user, that can we bring a 3D model file inside the After Effects? Now the answer is yes. You can bring FBX, OBJ, GLTF. Not only bring it, you can also like animate them, you can also render them, you can also light them, you can do the lighting also on those particular objects. So that is what I'm going to show you now. And to start with, let me just close this project. And I have shared some file with you, and you can try what I'm going to show you. You can try along with me, or maybe you can take a look on it and you can try it later on also. But if you would like to do hands-on with me, you can try it right now with me also. So right now the application which I'm using is called Substance 3D application. You may or may not aware of. Adobe now have a 3D solution also. We have a 3D application which is called Adobe Substance 3D. And Adobe Substance 3D is a collection of around 4 or 5 software. Okay. And one of the software which I have opened on the screen right now, it is called Stager, where we will create our 3D object. We will apply material on our 3D object. We will also apply graphics on our 3D object, and then we will take that 3D object inside After Effects for creating the animation. Okay, so let me show you that how I'm going to do that. So first of all, I will bring my 3D model. You can create your 3D model inside the Adobe, something called Adobe Substance 3D, which is a 3D application where you can create a model. Or if you already have a model, you can bring that. So I have already shared one model with all of you. You can simply import that model. You can drag and drop that model inside the Substance 3D stager, or you can click on File, Import, and click on 3D model. Okay, that's how you can import this particular model. So this is a FMCG product, and this is a you can say shampoo bottle or a lotion bottle. I can rotate this. It's a full-fledged 3D software. Uh, you can also if you want to try it right now, if you are not able to download and install Substance, you can also try this on Dimension. However, Dimension is now no longer get updated. If you want to use like a full-fledged uh, software, you need to update it. You need to go on to the Stager Substance 3D software only. So I have this 3D model here. There are two parts of this particular object. If I go into layer, the first one is the bottom body, and the second one is the cap, which is on the top. Okay. So depending upon how you have created your 3D model, you will get multiple element of your 3D model inside the Substance 3D stager. Now, the first thing we will do, since our model is ready, we need to apply a texture and material on top of it. Okay. Most of the time, the FMCG product bottles are plastic. Okay. But they are very glossy plastic or a shiny plastic. So I have provided you a material which you can apply directly on top of it. So I will just simply drag and apply the material like this, or you can click on File, Import, and you can say place material on selection. Okay, so this option, place material on selection, you can use this option to apply the material on your object. So I will just simply drag and drop. It's got applied on the body part. I will also apply it on the cap. You can also apply the this material directly on the entire thing just by making a make sure that you select the group folder. This is a group folder. If I select the entire group, and now if I try to drag and drop, it will get applied on the entire thing. Okay. So this is how you can apply them. Now this looks like a slightly black color. If I rotate the light, there is a shortcut key which is Shift and right arrow, and with the help of that, I'm able to rotate my lighting also. I want to change the color of this particular material. Okay, so maybe I want to show that this material is actually a kind of a bluish tone. So I will just choose a blue tone kind of a color here. So maybe I'll give a value. Okay, something like this. I have applied it already, but you can see the cap also got a same color. Okay, for the cap, I want to apply a different material. So I will select the cap. This is the cap. And now I will apply a different color on the cap. So maybe I will select a different color. And you can see now I have these two different material on this particular object. So basically material is same, the colors are different. And it's a glossy plastic. This is how I'm sure you all have must have seen how the bottles looks like, right? Now you can, of course, I'm not going in details right now in the 3D software, but yeah, you can control how much glossy it should look like. So maybe if you do not want that the plastic should look like that much of glossy, you can increase the roughness. Now you can see it look like a matte color. Okay, but if I want that it should look like a glossy, I can reduce my roughness value. And now you can see the glossiness is coming on top of it. So this is how I applied the color. Now it's time to apply the graphics. Okay. So one of the good thing with Substance 3D is since it's an Adobe product, uh, your other creative software, the 2D softwares are also connected, which means if you have created something in Illustrator, you can bring that file directly inside the Adobe Substance 3D. So I have created one design which is available in a graphics folder, which I have shared with you. I will simply drag and drop my graphics on top of it. So you can see my graphics got applied here. I can scale it up like this, and you can see how automatically it's getting rotate. So basically, sorry, the 2D graphics is able to recognize the surface, the 3D surface, and even if I move this, you can see it will automatically get rotate. So this is a great way. Suppose you are working on a packaging design. and you have to apply some label on top of it or some other graphics on top of. You do not have to do lot of manipulation and alignment. It will automatically get aligned perfectly with the design. I can slightly scale this up. Maybe I will rotate it, something like this. I will bring it in the center. I will scale up more. Yeah. So here you can see I have applied my graphics. Now, since the graphics got applied, now I also want to apply a label. So my label is designed inside Illustrator. I will simply bring my Illustrator file. I can drag and drop, or you can click on File, Import, Place Image on Model. Okay. When I'm saying image, it can be a Photoshop file, it can be a Illustrator file, it can be your JPEG or PNG file also. Any file you can bring it on top of your 3D model. So I'm bringing my label here, and this is my label. And as you can see, even if I rotate this, you can see how beautifully it is able to get adopt on the surface of my 3D model. Okay, so this is a graphics which I have just imported, and it's a Illustrator file. It can be a PNG file also. It can be a JPEG file also. But why I bring Illustrator file, I'll show you that. The reason is that if, let's say, if the client say that please update the color, please update the design, I can do that very quickly. So suppose if I align this at the bottom, something like this, and now the client say that, you know what, please change the color of this label in blue or dark blue kind of a color, I can do that very quickly. How? I will simply select my object. You can see I have applied two graphics. The first graphics was that wave line, which is in the PNG format. And the second graphics is this label, which is in the Illustrator format. So if I select my graphics 2, which is a label, and if I click on it, you can see there is an edit option. I can edit this graphics. So if I click on it, let me just select and click on edit. Now the Photoshop, now the Adobe Substance Stager is intelligent enough to understand the format of the file, and it will open the that particular software for me. So if your file is in Photoshop file, it will open the Photoshop. If your file is Illustrator file, it will open the Illustrator for you. So as you can see, it has opened the Illustrator for me, and on the back side you can see my Stager, Substance 3D Stager is also open. Now suppose I want to change the color. Yes, that's correct. It will get open with the supported artboard only. So that will get highlighted. So if I select this, I will click on it. Maybe I want to change the color. So I'll just make it slightly dark blue tone, and I will make sure that all the other things are in white. So I'll take a white color. And now if I hit Control S and if I minimize this, within a couple of seconds, the file will get updated quickly. If I come back here again, Control Z, Control S again, if I minimize this, you can see the file will get updated. So that's the power you are getting with Substance 3D software, along with the other Creative Cloud application, which is like Photoshop, Illustrator, that they are interlinked. If you make changes in your Illustrator file or Photoshop file, it will get updated inside your Substance also. Imagine you have created some pattern or some other graphics, you can quickly update those and it will get updated here. All right, so now my design is updated. Of course, we can do a lot of things here. Uh, I can also swap the artboard. That also I can do, since my design only had one artboard. Otherwise, what will happen if I had more artboard? Then let me show you. Here you can see we have, it's mentioned artboard 1. You will get artboard 2, artboard 3, artboard 4. You can choose that also. Okay, so now my design is ready. Of course, I can do a lot of things. I can do lighting here, camera here, a lot of things. In fact, that's why I'm saying that dimension is now end of life. There you will not see, if any one of you use dimension will not going to see any more update. We have now moved our entire 3D operation into Substance. So do download Substance and try a Substance application. And Substance is much more powerful. It gives you a real time rendering also, and also ray tracing you can do. So a lot of 3D related stuff you can do inside the Substance stages. But right now, since today's session is on After Effects, so let's focus on that part. So once my model is ready, what I will do, I will click on File, Export, and I will export this scene. In how many formats I can export? I can export in GLTF, GLB, OBJ, USD, USDA, whatever format, depending upon your requirement, you can choose. Since I want to take it inside After Effects, I will choose GLTF format. This will also include your materials and all those things. So create a GLT. Plus, this is also very light format. So it's a great format if you are planning for some augmented reality, AR, VR related content creation. Choose the GLTF format. It's very light to use. Okay, so now let's move on inside the After Effects. So I will open one file. So as of now, the direct Substance file cannot get imported inside the After Effects. So you need to export the format. You need to export your model in some 3D format to bring it. Okay, so let me open the After Effects file. All right, so this is a file which I have. There are some 2D graphics, some 3D animation is have some 3D layers, some camera zoom in, zoom out is happening. So I'm not going into that how that is something made. You all know how to create those kind of a thing. But let me bring a model. So once you export your 3D model, you can simply drag and drop in your project panel or right click import file here. So let me bring that 3D model here like this. And once you import, you can see I got my .gltf file. There is a bin file also. Do not delete the bin file. It's required to support the gltf file. But in the timeline, you only need to bring the gltf file. Okay. Once you bring it, this panel will get open. It asks you the object scale is 100%, make comp size after positioning. All those options are there. Click OK. You got your 3D model here. I can move this 3D model wherever I want. It's a full-fledged 3D model. I can also, let me reduce the resolution. I can also rotate this object like this. I can also rotate like this. So as I said earlier, it's a full-fledged 3D model which you can bring inside the After Effects just like any other 3D model. And you will have a full control. So you have anchor, scale, property, even in the side properties panel you can see all the properties are visible here. So since it's a 3D model, you will have orientation, X rotation, Y rotation. So maybe let me just scale it down slightly like this. I'll put this one here. I'll bring this down somewhere here. And I want to create an animation, something like, as you can see, this pop-up kind of animation. So for that, I will bring my anchor point at the bottom like this. And now if I scale down to 0, so the idea here is not to show you how I am doing animation, but just to show you that you can use all these features inside the After Effects. So maybe I'll create some keyframe animation from here. So I will put scale and then I'll move and I'll put the value 100. So maybe slightly lower. Yeah. Now I will also make them ease in, ease out. Now if I play them, so of course you need to match the timing and all those things to achieve the output. But my idea is not to show you my skill, but to show you how what these features can do. Let me take a pause and see if you have any question in the chat box. Right. So a couple of questions are here. Dimension is good for beginning 3D design, definitely. But as I said, it's end of life, so there is no support from the backend. So if you want to learn 3D for your personal interest, you can start with Dimension, but it's not recommended from the Adobe side. Always learn on the application which is up and running, and there is a support on that application from the Adobe side. What is it on? Yeah, so the direct import from Substance is not yet available. You need to export the file. Yeah, so this 3D import feature is a new feature, Roland. It is in beta right now. Earlier, people used to earlier if you use 3D feature in After Effects to import any 3D model, you need to rely on a third-party plugin, and sometimes those plugin get crash, and because of that, your entire After Effects get crash, right? So now those things get eliminated. You do not need to rely on a third-party plugin. You do not need to pay for a third-party plugin. You can directly use the After Effects native option, and this feature will going to be available in the regular After Effects version very soon. I do not have a date right now, but this feature will going to come out from the beta into your regular After Effects very soon. Right now, it is available in the public beta version already. And we see interior and exterior from 3D view. Uh, Interior and exterior, if you're talking about top view, bottom view, something like that, so yeah, that option is already there inside the After Effects. If that is something which you are asking, top, left, right, orthographic view, so those different 3D views are already available there. You can try them. How can we light and render 3D object in A? Great question. So one thing I'm sorry, happy to tell you that all the After Effects lights work on the 3D model. So if I click on light, and let's say if I select a spotlight here and select some color from here and increase the intensity, something like this, I'll take a blue color. Okay, sorry, let me choose a point light so that I can show you. Okay, so I'll go on to the top view. Let me bring the light. I'll create a camera also here. So all the After Effects light will perform on your scene. So that's not a challenge. And one another thing I want to highlight from the light perspective, because you asked a question related to light. Now we allow you create a environmental light. So if you know something in 3D lighting, we do a lot of HDR lighting, right? So HD you can do now HDR based lighting inside After Effects also. So if I select the environment light, okay, environment light also allow you to create a cast shadow, that also you can do now. So if I go inside environment light option, you can see here we have an option something called source. Okay, so in the source you can see it's mentioned default. If you have a HDR image, you can import that HDR image inside your timeline, and you can select that particular image, HDR image. So the that image will get applied as a HDR lighting on this particular 3D model. So HDR lighting is also supported now inside the Adobe After Effects with the environmental light option. Let me see the chat box. So the one which I'm using right now is something called Substance 3D Stager. So let me just explain you. I think there is a screenshot which someone has posted in the chat box. So I'll just quickly explain you what all each of these software do. So Substance 3D Modeler, as the name is saying, it is used to create a 3D model. It's a sculpting based 3D modeling tool. Okay, so you can think like a digital clay. Okay, with the clay you can create a 3D model. So 3D modeler is for modeling. 3D Stager is the one which I was using right now. You can bring your pre-made model, apply a texture, apply a camera, apply the light, and you can also render the output directly from the stager inside the Substance 3D stager. Sampler is used for creating a material. You can take a real world photograph of a real world material and you can convert them into a digital material. Sampler also have a feature something called photogrammetry, where if you capture a 360-degree photograph of any object in the real world, sampler will convert that particular image into a 3D model along with the texture. Painter is all about painting. You can say Painter is a Photoshop for 3D. If you have a complex 3D model and you want to do some material apply on top of it, some texture apply, and with lot of flexibility like layer masking and those kind of a thing, the way we do in Photoshop, you can do that in Painter also. Designer is slightly advanced application. It's a node-based application for creating the material from the scratch, which doesn't exist in this entire world. So you can create a material in Designer also. So these are total five software which are part of Substance. Aero is our AR application, augmented reality application, which you can use to create AR based experience. Yes, Roland, Modeler is only available in a Windows application right now. Uh, so you can try it on the Windows machine. All right, coming back to the Adobe After Effects right now. Sorry. So once you create this, you can simply go in your render, you create all your animation, then you go inside the export, add to media encoder, apply your setting, you can render the output. I'll show you one very interesting setting, and that is something related to if I have this 3D model, okay, and I want to make a copy of this 3D model. I many times what we do, we make a duplicate of a layer, right? So if I press Control D, it will make a another copy of my 3D object, but you can see in the layer panel, I will get two 3D model. If I need three copy of my 3D model, it will make my file heavy, right? Because I will keep on duplicating my 3D model. So there is an easy way to do that inside After Effects now. And that's a tip which I'm telling you, which will help you in After Effects when you deal with a 3D object. I will create a solid layer, okay? The color doesn't matter. I'll take a white one here. And now I will go into effect and channel. And there is a one effect called calculation. Okay, I will take calculation. And in the calculation layer, in the source, I will select that particular 3D model and I will increase the opacity. And you can see the 3D model is visible even in the solid layer, but with a white background. I do not need a white background. I need an original background. I will make a copy of my effect and I will change the blending mode to stencil alpha. And immediately you can see with a solid layer, I was able to get, so this is my original 3D model and the copy of that 3D model is available on the solid layer. This way I can have multiple copy of my 3D object. I can apply a different effect on this particular 3D model and it will also not make my file heavy. So from one 3D model, I can create multiple 3D model inside the After Effects. So this is a great way to create a multiple copies of 3D model.